I will start the recording. Hold on. Oh, you've already started. Okay, just so everyone is aware, one more time, if you're interested in closed captioning, it's in the center of your power bar. But otherwise, hello, good evening, and welcome to Slippery Rock University's Power of Story speaker series. My name is Keisha Booker, and on behalf of the Office for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging, we welcome you to this shared space. So why are stories important? Well, stories have a transformative power that allows us to see the world in a different way than we would do if we were just to encounter it on our own. Stories are an entry point to understanding different experiences of the world. Stories reveal truths, encourage exploration, generate curiosity, and more. They become a connective tissue between time, people, cultures, and experiences. Before we begin, we have a few housekeeping notes. So we're going to lay out some ground rules. Active listening is important throughout the session. We ask that you please keep your sound, or we ask that you please stay muted, but have your cameras on when applicable. When the time comes, speak from your own experiences. Do not be afraid to disagree respectfully. Participate by choice. Do not invade others' stories. The goal is not to agree, but to gain a deeper understanding. Try to speak up, but not over each other, and then be conscious of your body language while in the space. So without further ado, I will introduce tonight's speaker. Tonight's session will be conducted by Jordan Pierre, a Syracuse University alum and a motivational speaker. Jordan is a graduate of Syracuse. He is a journalist, a social justice advocate, a motivational speaker, a commentator, and a self-established talk show host. He speaks to the beauty and importance of being unapologetically yourself and not letting anyone dim your light. So Jordan, welcome to Slippery Rock.
Amazing. It's amazing to be here today. I want to first start by thank you all for being in attendance. Keisha was like, I don't know how many people gonna come, but we got good numbers in attendance, so we can have a great conversation and dialogue. So, I love to see faces. I don't know if everybody's nervous. I've been on Zoom before. I've been in your position. I know everybody don't want to show their face, but if y'all feel comfortable as we get into the conversation and dialogue, I'd love for y'all to come off screen. You know what I mean? So give a brief introduction of who I am. So my name is Jordan Pierre. I'm currently from Brooklyn, New York, and I am a master's student at Syracuse University. I got my bachelor's in broadcast and digital journalism with a minor in entrepreneurship and emerging enterprise. And now I'm getting my master's in television, radio, and film. And what brings me here today, and the opportunity came across because I delivered the convocation speech for Syracuse University, Public School of Communication, which is known as Newhouse. It is the #1 communication school in the country. We have a notable alumni network. And when I delivered this speech, it went viral. We had various people sharing. We had Angela Rye, we had Oprah Winfrey Foundation, Carmelo Anthony, and various people shared this speech. And it led to various opportunities, which is like the one that we have today. And what the conversation is going to be about today is the idea of preparation. And the reason why I thought about why should I speak about the importance of preparation is because I was filled with mixed emotions when the speech did go viral. Could you all hear me? Okay, perfect. So when the speech went viral, there was various things and opportunities. A lot of people conversed with me about how they love this speech, but no one asked me behind the story behind the speech itself, right? And there was a lot of preparation, and there's a story behind it, and I wanted to share with you all today. So we're going to speak about this idea of what preparation is and why it's important. The topics that will be discussed under the umbrella of preparation is purpose, perseverance, perspective, faith, and self-efficacy, and then why you can't give up. And I'm only going to ask for a few things. I know she said her ground rules. The only things that I'm going to ask is for engagement. And how that's going to look is like throughout the conversation, I may ask for some of you all to drop some things within the chat, or I may ask for some of you all to come off mute and converse with me. You know what I mean? I like to have conversations and dialogue. And where I'm from, we say we're going to keep it a buck. So that means we're going to have an honest and authentic conversation, which I'm going to have with you all today. So in Brooklyn, we say we're going to keep it a buck. And that's what we're going to do today, all right? And so to start, I want to get some class rankings. I want to get to know who I'm speaking to today. So in the chat, if y'all could, we're going to ask for first year students, put some 1s. For my sophomores, y'all can put some 2s. My juniors, let's put some 3s. And my seniors, we can put some 4s. Okay, y'all good at, all right. I love the interaction. Okay, all right, perfect. We got a diverse room, different classes. All right, perfect. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna share my screen. And I'm actually gonna play the speech for you all. But I first want to ask, did anybody seen the speech from like you got the raise your hand function. Did anybody see the speech, or do my face look familiar by any way? Okay, this is good. I'm happy nobody. All right, perfect. Oh yeah, this is amazing. All right, we got 2. All right, perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to play this speech, and then we're going to get into the conversation and dialogue. All right. Perfect. Share that. Can everyone see my screen? Okay, perfect. I'm gonna play it now.
Good afternoon, faculty, staff, students, and friends. My name is Jordan Pierre, and I'm currently a senior, majoring in broadcast and digital journalism with a minor in entrepreneurship and emerging enterprise. To be here today for me is much more than a ceremony. Today is much more significant because I come from a place where I've attended more funerals and court appearances than college graduations. To be here today is a barrier broken. I have my family in attendance today, and for many of them, this is the first time they have attended a college graduation. Earning the opportunity to walk across this stage required much more than just passing classes. For what makes this institution rigorous, at least for us Black and brown students, is not the curriculum, but what comes with being Black in the context of America while trying to uphold academic excellence. It's not the curriculum that makes this college experience rigorous, it's occupying academic buildings and being sent suspension letters for advocating for the creation of policies that will hold every student accountable for the racial slurs and vandalism of the dorms we Black students lived in. It's not the curriculum that makes these courses rigorous, it's bearing witness to your Black women friends having a focus on academia while learning they have been stripped of their agency to choose whether to give birth or not, despite having the highest mortality rate. It's not the curriculum that makes these courses rigorous, it's being a first-generation college student and not having the ability to call home to seek guidance on how to navigate the collegiate space, for you're the first to do so. It's not the curriculum that makes these courses rigorous, it's being a Black student in an educational system that justifies the omission of Black history through the use of the discomfort it causes our white counterparts when class discussions reveal the true history of theirs. It's not the curriculum that makes these courses rigorous, it's studying abroad in London while 10 elderly Black men and women are killed in Top supermarket just some miles away from here simply because they were Black. It's not the curriculum that makes these courses rigorous, it's having to work 3 jobs on campus to pay your rent and assist your parents in paying theirs. Some of us in this room understand firsthand that the scholarships and financial aid we earned were not just funding us as students, they were funding our household and a community. It's not the curriculum that makes these courses rigorous, it's looking at the news and seeing someone that looks like you with the same name Jordan being choked to death by a former Marine on a subway station and witnessing his mental health being used to justify his death. I say this all to emphasize the danger of a single narrative story, the danger of being left to formulate a preconceived notion of a community based on westernized media, and the danger of having a seat at the table to tell your own story. I often say that it's easy to dream, but it's hard to aspire to occupy a space that you have never seen someone that looks like you in. My presence here today will serve as proof to the next young Black man or woman.
I'm gonna unshare it and share it again. Did it pause on everyone's end?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good approach. If you shared the link, Keisha, can you play it on your end?
Yep, I already started to find
Okay.
it, so
That's
give me a
perfect.
second.
That was a great suggestion too.
Someone remind me on how to share sound.
So when you're sharing the screen, it's gonna tell you share sound as well.
Gotcha.
Let me stop that 360.
Just click the box. There should be a box on the bottom.
I got lots of screen. Share sound. Okay. I'm not quite where we need to be, but give me one more second.
I'm getting it on my end.
With my mini.
Is how I do business. I'm a photographer in independent business. It's a fact. Running.
Okay.
Curriculum that makes these courses rigorous.
Where did you stop? 360?
316.
316.
Yeah. Okay.
And do you all see Jordan's speech?
It's looking at the news and seeing someone that looks like you.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
same Jordan
And you hear
being
Jordan's
choked
speech.
to death by a former Marine on a
Yes.
station. And
I'll
witnessing
say
his
pause it
well
and then
being
start it
used to
back a little
justify
bit.
his death.
And
I
then you
say
can
this
make it
all
big.
to emphasize the danger of a single narrative story. The danger of being left to formulate a preconceived notion of a community based on westernized media. And the danger of having a seat at the table to tell your own story. I often say that it's easy to dream, but it's hard to aspire to occupy a space that you have never seen someone that looks like you in. My presence here today will serve as proof to the next young black man or woman that despite what comes with being a black student at Syracuse University, it's possible to speak at the Newhouse graduation. There was a time when I did not know what a student marshal was until last year when I met a black woman named Adudu, a student marshal at the College of Engineering and Computer Science. There was a time when I did not believe I was going to be the President of the United States, which is what I will one day become, until I seen Barack Obama become the president. My presence today will stand as a symbol of inspiration for the black people who hear this speech will be able to see themselves in the position I am in and aspire to do the same. I challenge my fellow graduates who are not of color to be mindful and intentional with the stories that you share, normalize, and teach your children. For those stories are used to formulate a preconceived notion of who we are based on the narratives you teach and the environments you expose them to. I challenge my fellow brothers and sisters to also be intentional and thoughtful about the stereotypes we normalize and perpetuate amongst ourselves. James Baldwin once stated that if the world does it to you long enough and effectively enough, you begin to do it to yourself. You become an accomplice to your own murderers. We must ensure that we do not become that accomplice and use our platforms to empower one another. To Syracuse and to Newhouse, I challenge you all to take accountability for the trajectory the media has taken. It is not one we should be proud of. For if we take pride in being the #1 communication school, we must also take ownership of the leaders and content creators for the media we consume, especially as we produce those who are the head of the newsroom. So we are only a microcosm of what the world will become. I challenge us all here today to denounce the stereotypes we have of one another, for the problem with stereotypes is not that they are untrue, but incomplete. As the legendary Nipsey Hussle once stated, the marathon continues.
Okay, you can unshare your screen and I'll share it on mine. Is everybody able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, we see you. Sorry. Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna ask in the chat if y'all like this speech, y'all comment some ones in the chat. We're gonna get the ball rolling. Okay, perfect. Perfect. So the conversation dialogue for what I want to start off is the idea of preparation. And the question I have is like, are you preparing for what it is that you want? The story behind the speech in itself that many never ask is what was the preparation behind it? I actually wrote that speech 2 years prior to me delivering stage. And the story behind it is that I wrote that speech during my junior year, fall semester, with the intent to actually speak at the Black graduation. I'm not too sure how it's set up at Slippery Rock, but in Syracuse University, we have 3 graduations. The first one is the Black graduation. Then we have your convocations, which is catered towards each school within the institution. And then you have your commencement speech. And I wrote that speech during the full semester of my junior year with the intent to speak at the Black graduation. Because it was during the spring semester of my sophomore year that I seen a young woman deliver a speech at the Black graduation itself. So that's what motivated me. And I wrote that speech and I was like, I not only wrote the speech, but I wrote the goals. And during that process, I was also joining a fraternity. So this is the real story. And I was writing down my goals on paper. And one of my goals happened to be to speak at the graduation. And when I wrote the goal, I not only wrote the goal, but I wrote the speech in itself and had the intentions of speaking. And what I'm trying to say to you all is the idea of not only the importance of preparation, but preparing for opportunities before they present themselves. So for me, when I wrote that speech, I'm like, I'm speaking no matter what. It's either I'm gonna make the opportunity happen or I'm gonna figure out a way to get on that stage. And what I want to encourage us all is that whatever it is that we envision, that we have for ourselves, we got to start preparing for it in advance. I tell the world that I want to become the president of the United States. And it used to scare me at first, but now I say it too confidently that I need to change the goal. I think I need to do something that's more surprising. I need to say something like, I want to be, I don't even know, because I say it too confidently. So I also want y'all to dream, and your dream should make you feel a little intimidated. When you say it, you feel uncomfortable. But the fact that I want to be the president, I'm preparing for it now. Like I wake up at 4:30 a.m. every day. And I was just on a call with somebody that I thought was like a mentor of mine, someone I looked up to. And I called him and I asked him, I said, I'm asking about his routine, which I'm going to speak to in a few seconds. And I'm like, what time do you wake up? Because I'm a student of life. So in regards to this idea of preparation, you got to find some advisors and also some mentors. So I reached out and asked him, I said, what's your routine? What time are you waking up? He told me he wakes up when his body is fully rested. Right then and there, I tuned out. It was like, no way. There's no way I'm working at 4:30 and the people that came before us is waking up later when they fully rested. I'm not saying there's an importance of sleep, but there's a certain type of drive and devotion that you got to have to your dreams. So for me, I'm every day, I'm consistently preparing for what it is in the space that I want to occupy. And it's rare that you're going to see me even in a hoodie. I usually wearing a suit. But the shirt that and the hoodie I have on today is going to speak to something I'm going to speak to later on, which the importance of understanding the importance of your voice, right? So I'm asking, I'm like, are y'all effectively preparing for what it is that you want to get out of life? And your preparation does vary depending on what it is that you're trying to achieve as students. If that's a grade, what it is that you're preparing, how you're preparing to get that grade. We all started the semester with an A. So only from the beginning of the semester to the end, something changes. But we all start off with an A. So I'm going to ask, are you preparing not only to achieve the goal, but to maintain it? Which is another conversation in itself. And then it's preparation outside of just the institution. For a lot of us, I want us to understand that you are more than just a student. And that's one thing I actually did not like when I was talking to professors or when I'm in classes, that they see you just as a student in your class. But a lot of us is not just the curriculum that makes our experiences rigorous. It's being Black in the context of America while trying to maintain academic excellence. So for me, I'm much more than a student. I'm somebody's child. I'm also from the hood. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. So it's much more that I have to think about and be cognizant of while maintaining and fitting the criteria of being a student. And that's what the whole speech was around. And I think it's important, even for today, when we talk about the power of stories, is understanding the danger of a single narrative story. When we look at media, you got to understand not all people's stories are being told. So for me, and I want to talk about just the idea of preparation. The second thing, like I stated earlier, is that I need y'all to prepare for opportunities before it presents itself. What I noticed that we do is that we prepare for things when an opportunity presents itself. We be like, I ain't going to do this until I become this. I ain't going to do this till I get there. And what I'm saying is you got to prepare for and make the opportunity happen. Not all the time when opportunities present itself. So you got to go and sometimes make the opportunity present itself. If I didn't get on that speech to get on that stage to speak, I went to the dean of my school. And I asked him, because at first only student marshals speak. I'm not a student marshal. I was not a student marshal when I gave that speech. But I went to his office and I said, look, I'm not going to be honest with you. I never knew what a student marshal was. Because another part of the story is that I'm a first generation college student. So a big part of your preparation is also contingent upon where you come from. I cannot call home and ask my mom how to navigate the collegiate space because I'm the first one to ever do so. So for those that's first generation, your preparation got to be different. Because you can't call home and ask for assistance and guidance. So for me, I went to the dean. I said, look, I never knew what a student marshal was, but I do want to speak. And it happened that he was already making that opportunity for other students outside of student marshals to deliver a speech during convocation. So it happened. But I was prepared. Because when I went to that meeting, it's different from me attending the meeting and saying, I want to speak at the graduation, and me saying, yo, I have this speech prepared. All I need is the opportunity. And I want to get us to understand the importance of preparation. And the last thing that I'm going to speak about preparation before I go into the idea of purpose is this idea of a routine. So I'm not too sure if you all ever heard of this motivational speaker called Eric Thomas, but one of the things he stated, he said that you're not as smart or strong as you think you are. Your strength and your intellect comes from your routine. So the thing about it is that I need y'all all to develop a routine that will ensure that y'all are efficient. Because even though I wake up at 4:30, I got to go to sleep by 11:30. So I need y'all to build a routine that's going to make you the most efficient person you're going to be, not just a student. Because I want y'all to also understand that y'all more than just students today. So the first thing that we spoke about is preparation. And what are you preparing for? And are you officially preparing for what it is that you aspire to become? The second thing I want to go to is this idea of purpose. Identifying what is your why and what is it that keeps you motivated. For me, it's my upbringing. And I'm going to go to the next slide. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, Gates Avenue specifically. When anybody asks me where I'm from, I don't say New York City. I don't say the U.S. I say I'm from Brooklyn. You got to have a certain amount of pride of where you're from, right? And where I'm from, my why is what motivated me is one, on the image that you see to the right is of 3 young men that served as older brothers to me, but they no longer alive. So my why is that I've seen a lot of people growing up around me die to gun violence. And I understand that through me, they still live. Because when I was younger, my nickname back at home is called JL. And what they used to say back then is that you gonna make it out, right? So whenever I navigate these spaces, even coming to speak to you all day, I understand I'm a representation of more than just myself. And what I want y'all to understand is that y'all all represent more than just yourself. You represent not just your family, but a community of young men and women that look just like you. So whatever space you go into, you got to think that I come as one, but I stand as 10,000. So for me, it's my upbringing. I was born in an environment that's of a low-income household. So I know how it feels not to have. And it's a lot of people that can correlate and relate to that experience in itself. So no matter what space I'm in, I understand my purpose. My purpose is that I'm a representation of more than just me. So whenever I speak, I'm speaking for more than just myself, but everybody that look like me. Because the other part of the untold stories is that my story is not being told. And a big part of that is understanding that I felt when I was growing up that a eulogy shouldn't be the only time the voice of my community was heard. And the only time I ever seen the news outlets come to Brooklyn and come to my neighborhood was one after one of us passed away. And then on the left hand is another image, which is of my family. So while everybody was so fascinated with the speech in itself, what was more memorable for me was that my family was in attendance. This is actually my first time I ever had my family come up to school. So for me, my story is that it's 2 times I see my parents in school. I'm not gonna lie. It's when they moving me in, that's at my freshman year. And then when I graduate, that's my senior year. And a lot of people can relate to that story. So for me, what was most memorable wasn't the speech in itself, but it was my purpose. It was the fact that my family was in attendance. That's the first time they ever even seen me speak. When this is what I do. But that's the first time my mom ever came to a school. My mom ain't go to college. A lot of my family members ain't never attend college. And that's why I say is that I've been to more funerals and court cases than college graduations. So many of y'all the pioneer and that person that's going to change the narrative for not just yourself, but for your family. So for me, you got to I want y'all to identify what it is that your purpose is, what is your why, and what is it that's keeping you motivated. Because it's not enough if money is the motivation, it's not enough because you're going to get that. If it's an A in class, if it's being the #1 person in school, whatever that is, it's going to become a time where the things that are tangible is not enough motivation. So you got to find out what is your purpose and what is your why for them times where you're no longer feeling motivated to keep going. The next thing I want to speak about is the idea of perseverance. And the way I'm putting these slides is putting next to questions. So I could just put it into context. And I'll stated, where would I be if I listened to them? And I first got to explain who is them. Them is all the people that's doubting, right? So there's an African proverb that says, a child that does not feel reaffirmed by his village will burn it down to fill his womb, right? And this is something I want us all to understand, is this idea of perseverance, that we will not always be reaffirmed in what it is that you envision. A lot of people not going to see what it is that you have in your mind, definitely as students, because one thing as us as youth is that many people try to make it seem as if like we are naive to the world. And what I tell them is that our naiveness is actually a benefit, because there's a lot of things we would not have done if we knew. So what I want y'all to understand is that we are the future. You know what I mean? I'm all for us as Gen Z. Like, we are the most powerful demographic in my eyes. And the reason why I say it is because we have not only the most access to information than those that came before us, but we also got the most energy. So there's a quote that we hear people saying, it's like, be mindful how you treat people when you're down. What I want to say is that to the advisors that may be on this film, it's like, be mindful how you treat children on your way up, because those are the same children you're going to meet on your way down. And we never forget how it is that people made us feel. So when I talk about this idea of perseverance, is that you got to persevere through all the doubt. No matter how much you achieve in life, you always going to enter another tier system of doubt. So you got to be able to persevere through all of it. For me, I remember when teachers used to tell me I couldn't attend Syracuse. So I went to an all-boys school in Eagle Academy. It's one in each borough within New York City. And there was a time where my teachers told me, it's like, I wanted to go to Morehouse, which is a predominantly black, it's HBCU, a historically black college within Atlanta. And I wanted to go to Morehouse. And what they was telling me is like, oh, if you go to Morehouse, that's going to be normal for you, because I attended an all boys school prior. And it's like, you go to Syracuse, though, you're going to only amount to a statistic. And I looked at them, I was like, oh, okay, so let's all right, I'm going to take that on. So for many of us, I want y'all to know, people going to doubt you. And I came up with a philosophy. It's the idea of God SEAL 6. And by that, I mean that I use the analogy to the SEAL 6. I don't know if anybody know what the SEAL 6 is, but the SEAL 6 is a special unit within the military that they send out for special missions. And what I say is that God also has a special unit of people on this earth that he gave a purpose and an assignment to that only you yourself can curate. So what I want y'all to understand is that a lot of times you're going to share your vision with people and they're not going to understand. And the reason why they're not going to understand is because God gave you a vision and an assignment that only you yourself can bring to fruition. Until it's tangible, people are not going to believe in it. And that's how you got to see yourself. So I want y'all to understand the idea of perseverance. People told me I could not go to Syracuse. And guess what? I went to Syracuse, and when I first got here, I said, I'm going to become the face of the institution. I got to, because where I'm from, my neighborhood, they're not going to believe in you unless you're able to show something. Like, you know, people that always say they financially literate, they're like, oh, financial literacy, this, and this. Eventually, we asked, how much money do you have? Could you show me? Before we tune out. So I knew that I could not be here to present to you or even go back home and speak to them about the importance of attending college and going to a collegiate space if I did not show them something that was tangible. So when I went to school, I actually had, look, I became the royal king of Syracuse. I done everything I do. I did everything. I ran for student association, government, whatever it is, because I knew that my goal was, I set it out, I wrote it down, and I made it happen. And I persevered, and I showed them that I got mounted more than statistics by attending Syracuse University. And to give you the demographics, it's about 22,000 students, 7,000 graduate students, 15,000 undergrads, and about 1,000 Black students. And my idea is I'm going to become the face of the institution. And that's what I did. But I had to persevere through all the doubt. And you can't allow people to try to stifle your imagination, because what they do is they see you and they envy. Because there's a lot of things that you're doing at your age that a lot of people that came before us didn't have the access to or was able to curate at the age that we at. So I need us to understand the importance of perseverance. And then the last thing I'm going to say about this idea of perseverance is that you got to learn how to tune out the noise. Because in this journey, in this trajectory to get to where you at, it's going to be a lot of people that's trying to distract you and take you off of course. And you got to maintain, that's why I said the importance of a routine. Because once you identify what your routine is, you can then be able to decipher what it is that's taking you off track. So the idea of perseverance is very important. The next thing I want to speak about is the idea of self-efficacy. So a question I have, and I want to ask for people to come off of mute. I want to ask you all, first, I want to ask, do you all know what the word self-efficacy means, right? If you do, I want you to come off mute and define it for me. And if not, I also want to ask you this question right here on the next slide, which is, what is the greatest investment one can make? So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for the purpose of you answering the question. So if anybody can come off of Zoom, I want to get some engagement, some participation. So whoever's on Zoom, I want to know, what do you feel? If you can identify self-efficacy, I want you to do so. But if not, I also want you to answer the question, what is the greatest investment one can make? I get anybody? Any students willing to speak? Okay, come on. You don't got to raise your hand. Just go off of mute and let me hear you.
If I understand correctly, self-efficacy is the capacity and belief in yourself and your own abilities and what you can achieve.
Definitely. All right, I need that. That's actually the definition. It's the confidence and ability, the belief that you have in yourself and in your capabilities. And then I want to ask you, what is the most important investment one can make?
I'm a person of faith, so I would say in my relationship with God, but then from there would be the relationship I have with myself.
I like you. I like you right here. I like you. You hit it right on the nail. I like you right there. Definitely. So the greatest investment is the one that you can make in yourself. And what I noticed is that I want to first identify the difference between like confidence and arrogance, right? We have a lot of platforms that speak upon all these investments into stock markets, real estate, everything on social media, these investments into other entities outside of ourselves. Never tell us that before we can make an investment in anything, you got to invest in you. In order for me to find a value in any other entity, I first got to change the value or the evaluation that I have of myself. So the most important investment I want y'all all to understand is the investment that we make within ourselves. And then I want to identify the difference between confidence and arrogance. What I want us all to have is a firm belief in our capabilities and who we are. That's confidence. You know what I mean? I need you to carry your head high. I need you to walk in class days where you may not feel like going to class. I need you to maintain a sense of confidence. Because the world is going to try to strip you of your hope and your belief in yourself. But you got to find ways to reaffirm yourself and to maintain that confidence no matter what spaces you navigate in. And there's a difference between arrogance. Arrogance is more of the confidence that you have, but at the expense of understanding that you always still a student and then there's always space to learn. So there's a difference between the two. And people often gonna confuse arrogance with confidence when they don't understand your story. For some of us, we got to convince ourselves that it's possible. On this journey that I'm going on, I'm speaking different places. I got to convince myself that everything that's coming into my life, that I deserve it. And that I belong in a lot of spaces. A lot of us attend these institutions and we got this notion that we don't belong. And you got to convince yourself that it's possible. Because not a lot of times, a lot of people are not going to convince you yourself. And what I'm going to speak to in this same conversation is the idea of affirmations. But I first want to start with the idea of confidence and believing in yourself. So with affirmations, one thing that I do and I add in my routine, I want you all to do, and I hope you all got at least a notebook. You know what I mean? I meant to say that again. I want y'all to be writing down certain things as it's coming to mind. So with this idea of affirmations, what I do is that I say 10 affirmations 3 times a day. And the reason why I made this a routine is because I've learned through a podcast that I watch with 19 Keys. It says that your DNA is made of an algorithm. And there's different ways in which you can recode that algorithm. That's through saying affirmations, and you can say 10 of them 3 times a day. So I'm also going to show you the slide where I'll show you my affirmations in itself. And what I'm saying to you is that when I speak about this idea of self-efficacy, this belief in yourself, and as you state, also a belief in God, is that you got to find ways to reaffirm yourself when no one else is reaffirming. So what I did is I created 10 affirmations. I say 3 times a day. Mine's is, I put it directly here so that you all can see it as well, because I want to walk you through the process. I put God got me. I said I have the strength to conquer temptation and to tune out noise. I said abundance will manifest into my life as long as I move in purpose. The other one's my vision will not be understood, for I'm a part of God's seal 6. I put I am who the world has been waiting for. I put God will provide me with direction and assignment on divine timing. I put everything I need is already inside of me. My money will multiply. Even though I cannot see it, God is at work. Opportunities, awards, and lessons will not manifest to my life prematurely. And I need y'all to find ways to reaffirm yourself. Like you gotta manifest it. You know what I mean? And I spoke about like this idea of the belief in what you cannot see, but still maintaining the effort and the strides towards achieving it. Because a lot of things that you envision, and you are the person that's going to bring certain things into the world that no one else can see. But you got to also reaffirm yourself, because not a lot of people are going to see what it is that you envision. And there's going to be times where people are not making you feel like you are that person. So you got to reaffirm yourself. And I want to give y'all all that assignments to find time to write down some affirmations. What are some things, in a way that you do it, how the assignment will go is that you first have to identify 10 things that you feel you are insecure about or that you seek improvement or growth in. And then I want you to create affirmations that reaffirm those same things that you have identified to be your insecurities or things that you seek growth in. So for me, I used to be uncertain. And my affirmations change depending on your stage in life. So like my favorite one here, well, all of them are my favorite, that's why I made them. But the biggest ones like opportunities, awards, and lessons will not manifest into your life prematurely. Because one of the things that I noticed that as a young generation, being that we have access to so much information and technology, is that we aspire to become a part of certain spaces. We want to get there a little bit quicker. But one of the things that I will say is I acknowledge that we are naive to the extent that we have to understand that a lot of times we aspire to be a part of spaces that our character won't maintain us in. So we may have the talent, the ability to get in certain spaces, but then it's like maintaining. Because as I say, it's easy to get the A in a class, but it's harder to maintain it because it comes with a certain type of routine you have to develop as an A student. If you got a student that's a C, you're going to see their routine is much different from a student that's an A student. Somebody that's successful, a breadwinner within their family that started the first millionaire, the first person to start their own business, an entrepreneur, is much different in their routines. So for me, I understood that I was aspiring to be a part of certain spaces. Like for me, I said, I want to be Steve Harvey and I want to do it right now. Put me on a show. Let's go. Let's do whatever. I can do it. I make everybody laugh. Let's joke. Let's have fun. But then I was naive to understand that probably may make it look easy. It's a routine that he has, right? So while I may think I could do what he's doing, I still got to develop and create a routine to be efficient. So for me, I had to reaffirm myself that opportunities, awards, and lessons wouldn't manifest in my life prematurely. Even though that's what I'm praying for. I want to be this, I want to be that. But I got to make sure that I go through the process of developing myself so that I can maintain my positionality in those positions. And another one that's one of my favorites is that I'm who the world has been waiting for. You got to see yourself as that. Like y'all all part of Slippery Rock University. What I'm gonna say is that it's not a privilege for the university to have you. It's not a privilege for you to be part of the institution. Actually, a privilege for the institution to have you. So, like for me, I say it's not a privilege for me to be part of Syracuse. It's a privilege for Syracuse to have me. We make the institution. There's no learning institution that exists without its students. So we got to understand our agency and our power and believe in ourselves. So for me, I have to say I am who the world's been waiting for. I believe I'm Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, all of them in one. I'm everybody in one. That's how you got to believe in yourself. Whatever it is that you gotta make sure you know that you are who the world has been waiting for. Whatever don't exist, your vision is going to bring it to fruition. And that's how I see myself. And like I said, some people will confuse confidence with arrogance where they don't understand your story. I gotta convince myself that it is possible, because who else gonna do it? Another part of it is that, like our parents, we are going to see certain things that our parents haven't seen because we have access to so much information. So there's going to come a time where we no longer call home and ask for that guidance and advisory because they haven't seen what we've seen. So you got to convince yourself that it's possible and that you are what the world has been waiting. And then I'm going to get into the last point for today, which is perspective. And it's how do you see yourself, right? And how do you see the world? So there's a few points I'm going to speak to. The first one is that I don't want you to allow the world to condition you to see yourself in a manner in which they want you to see yourself, as inferior, right? So we have media, we have different media outlets that all have an agenda. And what I want you to understand is that you cannot allow the world to convince you to see yourself in a manner in which they want you to see yourself. All these platforms, we'll have social media, we have different things that we've seen every day, we consume a lot of news, and I want you to not allow media condition you to see yourself as inferior. The second thing is about perspective is that I got to talk about study abroad, right? I know that you all may have the opportunity to do so, and I want to encourage you all to take on that opportunity. And the reason why I say is because I have this theory that I created about the idea of incarceration, right? And I said there's two forms of incarceration. Only the first one is to be behind bars in the prison, which is what we all are familiar with. But the second one is to be a victim of limited exposure, right? And for some of us coming from certain environments, certain socioeconomic backgrounds, we have limited exposure to environments outside the ones that we have grown up in and normalized. So for me, these are two images. I went to London. I also went to Florence, Italy. And this is my first time ever leaving the country. I'm the first one in my family and household to leave the country. So for me, I knew that like through me, I got to bring all these experiences back home. But while I was there, what I also came to understand is that we normalize a lot of things that's not normal. School shootings is not normal. Young men of color, black young men dying to hand law enforcement and one another is not normal. When I went to London, I noticed that they had a police force. They had two different police units. And the first one, which is the one that's like on most responses, actually didn't even carry a gun. They only would call a special unit if firearms and weapons were needed. But the cops came without weapons, and that was not normal to me. I never seen an officer without a gun. So the way in which they patrol the streets is a little bit different. They had to communicate with their citizens. I remember being in different events and I seen an officer come in, he actually talking to them, trying to de-escalate the situation. But I normalized seeing officers with guns. So even the way in which we navigate spaces with law enforcement and those in authoritative positions is a little bit different. What I want to encourage y'all is to go study abroad, because you're going to start to understand that a lot of things we have normalized being in America is actually not normal. And we need to expand our horizon and go see what is the world consumes outside of where we was born in. So for me, I just want to encourage everybody to go explore. Whatever opportunities come across your table for you to gain exposure outside of this institution, outside of your environment, outside of your neighborhood, outside of your community, I want you to take full advantage of it. It was a world change. It was a paradigm shift. I look at the world much different now, and I define myself much different. So I want y'all all to take advantage of the opportunities you have to gain exposure, because exposure is very important. They say that exposure leads to expansion. When you leave your normative environment and come back, you see your environment even a bit different. What you find interesting, what you find entertaining, it all changes. So what I want y'all to understand is like the shift in perspective. It's not a for me to be part of institution, privilege of the institution to have it. Everybody not gonna understand my vision, but I gotta bring it to fruition. I want you to shift your perspective. What capitalism has done to us is caused us to forget the most important form of currency, which is people. But I need us to shift our perspective to understand that everything, the money ain't just enough. If that's the aspiration, I need us to find our purpose. I need us to shift our perspective and how we see the world, but most importantly, how we see ourselves. So I need y'all to see yourself as that person that the world has been waiting for. And that's why I'm here today. Is I set aside the time to be here so we can reaffirm one another. I got to be the person, we got to be the people that we never had when we was growing up and make out that time to reaffirm each other. And on the last slide, I'm going to, I got to speak to it first. I'm going to conclude so that we can get into a Q&A and you guys can ask any question that you all have. But on a wrap up, I just want to make sure I summarize all the topics in which we discussed. The first one is I want you to prepare for what it is that you want out of life. If that's you being a student, whatever it is that you want to prepare to accomplish while you're in an institution, I need you to write it down. I need us to write down our goals, but not just the goals, but also the steps to achieving. And I never tell y'all to do something I'm not doing. So I wrote down, actually, I did it 2 days ago. I wrote down all my goals for the semester, and then what's the daily actions that I need to do in order to achieve those bigger goals. So you got to put the smaller steps. I said I want to read, a book every 2 weeks. And I looked at it, I was just reading a book from Trevor Noah, and it's 280 pages. So in my mind, I'm saying, let's say if that's the standard for a book is 280. And in 7 days, I know I got to read 40 pages a day. So that's just the goal. If that's what I want to do, I got to make sure I make that happen. So I want you to write down your goals, but also the steps to achieving them. The second thing, I need you to identify your why. Because I'm not going to say life will come with obstacles. It's going to be hard. It's going to be times where you're not motivated. And you got to stay relying upon your discipline. And I need you to identify your why and your purpose. What is it that's keeping you motivated? Because those are things that's going to get you through hardship. There's times where I feel like giving up, times where I don't want to do certain things I know I need to do. You know what I mean? But I need you to identify your purpose. And honestly, it's times where I'm nervous to speak, but I don't got no option not to go to it. I have a purpose. People will ask you all the time, what's your 5-year plan? Your plan going to change, but what shouldn't change is your purpose. So I'm working on a 5-year plan, hopefully, but I know I got a lifetime of purpose. And my purpose is, no matter what space that I'm in, I'm always going to bring some form of hope. And I'm going to inspire everybody that's in the room with me. So I need you to understand and identify what is your purpose. The third thing is I need you to block out the haters. I need you to shake them off. You know what I mean? I know we got that dance with the hips. I need us to just shake them off. You know what I mean? All the haters, yeah, shake them off. People going to doubt you for the rest of your life. Every level of achievement comes with another tier system of doubt. I'd have graduated from Syracuse. Now people tell me if I went to HBCU, I wouldn't have had this impact because I'd have been around other people that did this and this. Scratch it. That means it's always going to be another level of doubt. Everywhere you go, somebody's going to have another thing to try to pull you down and make it seem like what you're doing is not worthy of an applause. And on that note, I got to let you know, like, don't live for other people's applause because you will also die by their criticism. So we ain't seeking to get anybody approval and they applause. We doing it for us. Don't allow nobody to steer your ship to a destination that you're not trying to go. And then the next one is believe in yourself. We talked about it earlier. Not only have a belief in God and in faith, but I need you to have a firm confidence in yourself and in your capability. Because there's going to be times where the things that's tangible is not enough motivation for you to keep going. So I need you to have a firm belief in who you are, what it is that you're capable of doing, and what you're destined to become. As I stated, that's not going to be the President of the United States. There's nobody in the world that can tell me I'm not going to be that. And y'all talking to me now. So when it happens, I'm like, he told me a few years ago, he told me that. But now I need something bigger too, because it don't scare me no more. I say it now, I actually really believe I could become it. I said it so many times, I got invited to the White House. I'm like, oh man, I need a bigger goal. I need to say, I got to figure out something that scared me to say. That's how y'all got to feel. Y'all got to set goals that make you be like, Right now, I say I want to speak at the Oscars. I'm thinking, I'll ask my friend, like, what's something big I could do? I need to write it down. I'm going to make it happen. I want to speak at the Oscars. I want to talk about how awards don't necessarily, everybody that get awarded don't mean that they doing the best job. There's some people that's going to be working hard that will never be awarded for the work that they do. I got a whole speech already written. I already wrote the speech. Let me get the opportunity. So if y'all got some goals and things that's scary to say it to yourself and let's make it happen. But write it down and write down the steps to achieving it. And the last one is exposure. The importance of gaining exposure outside of your environment. I want y'all to study abroad. If y'all have the opportunity to do so, please do so. For my freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, even seniors, if they have an opportunity for you to study abroad after you graduate, I need you to take advantage of it. Because it's important for you to gain exposure outside of your environment and to see the world through a different lens. You know what I mean? And that's how this slide before we go to Q&A, which is on my Instagram as well as my email for us to stay in conversation with one another. If y'all have any questions that y'all may not be able to ask today, feel free to stay in contact with me. But I'm ready for Q&A, so I'm going to stop sharing. And any question that you all have, I'm willing to give authentic responses. Ms. Booker, please inform me of how you want this to go. I don't know if it's
sure. So first, thank you, Jordan. I was just writing down your little steps and your action steps and goals. I like it. Those are great. We will do question answers in 2 ways. So we will do it in the chat, which I will monitor. And then if you would like to raise your hand and unmute yourself, that is also an option. And at this time, we are also going to stop recording. Brendan, I have you in 1 second. Let me stop recording.